Okay. Look at that nice view. Leah and Wendy and Judy over there. Beautiful. Nice of you to share the sunshine with us. It's lovely to see. Okay. So I've been doing some thinking recently about when we get lessons in life more than one time. When we get lessons in life more than one time. And so what are we to look for beyond the surface lesson? And I've been really sitting in, my whole life I've worked at least two jobs and been very driven and always hustled and on the go and achieving. And for this period of time since the dissolution of my marriage, I decided that I'm going to take 6 months and basically do as little as possible. It's just to be able to be present to the subtleties that I may have missed in the past in my life by plowing through and staying in the doing and the energy of fixing. And it got me thinking about how this is really what yoga is. It's how we move from the gross to the subtle. So in yogic philosophy, the fundamental concept is that we begin with the gross, like the physical, the external, the visible, the shape of the pose, if you will. And through sustained attention and practice, we move toward the subtle, which is more the energetic and the internal and the invisible, where the bigger shifts actually happen. And that's the path of yoga, self inquiry, and ultimately the path of liberation. So in asana practice, the pose is not the goal, it's the doorway. At first, we try to nail the shape, right? We're like, oh, I know what warrior one is now, yay, or I know how to do this pose. But over time, we become more curious about the breath, the inner cues, the alignment of not just the bones, but the alignment of our intention and our awareness. And eventually we realize that the true posture is the one we hold in consciousness. Now, the same applies. Yoga is a mirror for life. Your mat is a microcosm for your life. So the same applies to how we live. We are often attached to just skimming the surface of tasks just to check them off. They're mowing the lawn, but you're not really mowing the lawn. You're out somewhere else in your mind. We meet people's eyes and we give a fake smile, but we don't meet their hearts. We chase purpose in big leaps instead of honoring like quiet whispers and inner knowing. And we enter relationships seeking roles or results, what looks good, what fits the box, all of that stuff, rather than real presence. And this is sort of the gross level of life, the bigger, like the outer form. And it leaves us just aching for more. Now, in yoga, they call the gross stula, and that means the body, the pose, the job title, the to-do list, the outer image. And then the subtle is known as sukshma, and that means the breath, the energy, the intention, the sensation, the awareness, the seeking of truth. So downward dog isn't actually about, the V shape that it is. It's about the relationship to gravity, to breath, to surrender. Mountain pose seems simple, but it becomes like a place of immense subtlety to lift the crown while rooting the feet and the energy flowing like a mountain in stillness. So if we apply this to, for instance, relationships, we might just go through the motions and say, how are you? Without really listening. Hey, good. How are you? Not so bad. Fine. Yeah. What's going on? Yeah. Uh-huh. That's all the gross form of communication. We might react instead of attune. We get defensive right away. Or we might love based on expectation rather than presence. But if we move from the gross to the subtle and we take a pause, we can ask ourselves things like, can I feel the energy under their words? Can I just meet the moment as it is instead of this mental story that I'm creating? There's room, there's space for grace in the subtlety when we tune into the energy. Have you ever had somebody say, you tell them you hurt my feelings, and they go, well, I didn't mean to. Like, and that's the end of the conversation. But it's like maybe it wasn't their words, it was their energy, or they weren't attuned to your energy. And when we get into the subtler layers, a lot of that conflict doesn't need to exist. In work and purpose, we tend to chase promotions instead of meaning, milestones instead of mastery. And I think this is a big one. In yoga, we're guilty of this. We want to do the arm balance. We want to get crow, then we want to get handstand, or we want to get this. Who cares? Gain mastery of where to put your feet in the simplest pose, and you will have a deep, rich life. My teacher Baron says you're in the presence of a master teacher when they just teach to the feet for a whole class, not the ones who teach you how to get into 17 contortions of a pretzel. In work and purpose, we also chase busyness instead of brilliance. But the subtle level says, what do I feel alive doing, even when no one's watching? What brings me into flow, not just achievement? Really good questions to ask yourself. Now, in daily life, we eat meals, but we don't taste them. And then we're already thinking about what the next meal is going to be that we're also not going to taste. We rush on the walk to get somewhere and we miss the birds chirping and the smell of the lilacs that are blooming right now. And maybe even to pause and have the beautiful wonder of all of that. We parent, we partner, we perform without any presence, just on automatic pilot. The subtle path invites us to live with depth and devotion and deliberate awareness. And to me, when I seek things to be grateful for, that invites me into that depth when we're talking about daily life, just really considering gratitude. So, where this teaching is reflected in Buddhism is Buddhism teaches us that mindfulness is the path to insight, and it begins in the gross but moves toward the subtle. So, in yoga, they teach gross to the subtle. In Buddhism, they talk about first we notice the breath, then we notice the sensations, then the thoughts, and eventually we realize the impermanence, the interconnectedness, and the nature of the mind itself. Thich Nhat Hanh said, I love this. He said, drink your tea slowly and reverently, as if it is the axis on which the whole earth revolves. Drink your tea slowly and reverently, as if it is the axis on which the whole earth revolves. Ram Dass said something very similar when he was doing a talk on the Bhagavad Gita, and he was saying, when we're making tea, we make the tea thinking about how we're going to enjoy the tea, or when we serve the tea, we wonder if other people are going to like the tea, and while they're drinking the tea, we're wondering what they're going to say while they're drinking the tea. And he said, really, like presence is when you're making the tea, just make the tea. When you're drinking the tea, just drink the tea. There's nothing else. It's the depth of what's the presence. So the pose in yoga is a portal. The pose, if we imagine it like as a metaphor here, the pose is a frame, right? The posture is a frame. What matters is what you fill it with. Like a picture, like a frame with no picture, it's only meaningful when consciousness fills the form. Or like an iceberg, what we see is only on the surface, but the mass, the real story is below. And most people live just on top. You can mow the lawn and say you tended the garden, but true tending is the weeding and the nourishing and the pruning and the listening. The gross is just the cutting. The subtle is the cultivating. And if it's an instrument, it's like a beginner plays the notes, a master plays the silence between the notes. I love that. The beginner plays the notes, the master plays the silence between them. So here's some questions that I kind of pondered to give you if you're interested in the inquiry around this. Just where in my life am I just getting into the shape of things? Where am I just taking the form, the pose, and there's no depth? And what would it look like to move form to essence in my work, in my relationships, in my self-care? Would you need to slow down, pause, take some breaths, tune in, close your eyes? Like what could it look like? And what subtle signals have you been ignoring in your body and your emotions or your spirit? How might your experience of a task or an interaction shift if you brought more presence and curiosity? And I want to just say that the bridge between the gross and the subtle is curiosity. The curiosity will get you present, and the presence will have you know yourself more deeply. So, becoming curious and present will help you experience the depth. Barron talks about in his book, Perfectly Imperfect, he says the greatest mistake of a new yogi, and you could just say a person in life really, is that they start to get like some poses and they get excited about it, and then they want more poses and they want more styles and they want more. They're looking broadly for more instead of looking deeply at one thing. So we become a jack of all trades, master of none. And I think that this teaching really invites us into like pausing and looking, where can I develop my mastery? Where can I develop my mastery in listening, in being, in relationship, in purpose? So let's meditate. Hmm. Well, if you like to close your eyes, you can and just sit up nice and tall. Again, I like to have my back supported and my neck free. Draw your jawbone back a little bit so the crown of your head is sitting atop your tailbone. Draw the tips of your shoulder blades down toward your tailbone as well. To just let your traps turn off and your shoulders become soft. And then take a big, deep, full breath in through your nose. And sigh it out your mouth. Just feel how your body shifts. And again, draw the breath in through your nose and let it out through your mouth. Now, as you draw the breath in through your nose, notice your nostrils ripple and the little cilia in your nostrils flare as the breath comes in. Then hold the breath at the top. Just stay present. Keep your lips sealed and breathe out and notice those same processes, nostrils flaring. And breathe in and let go. Now feel the weight of your body, your gross form, tangible and strong. And with each new breath, begin to draw your awareness inward. Feel your breath not just in your lungs, but like a river flowing through your whole being. Notice the space between the inhale and the exhale. Now go a little deeper. Can you feel the texture of your energy? Is it light, heavy, moving, still? Now imagine a yoga pose, anyone at all, perhaps child's pose or just standing in mountain pose, and visualize yourself in it. At first, see the shape, then go beyond it. What do you feel in the breath, in your skin, in the silence of your mind? What's being revealed in the stillness? With every breath, soften your effort and sharpen your awareness. Nothing to do or fix or figure out, just opening, receptive, perceptive. Begin to see your whole life like this, not as a series of shapes, but as invitations to connect to deeper layers of self and spirit. I invite you to watch your breath for a few moments with deep curiosity, watching its pathway, its impact on various areas of your body, how it affects your energy. And your mind might wander off looking for something to catch its attention, like a shiny object. Just come back to looking at the breath with reverence and curiosity. Now take your breath and imagine pulling your breath up from the soles of your feet, drawing breath from the soles of your feet up through your calves and your thighs and your pelvis, all the way up your body to the crown of your head. And imagine exhaling from the crown of your head all the way down to the soles of your feet. And now imagine drawing the breath into only the right sole, up the right side of your body, your right lung, your right shoulder, the right side of your face, and hold at the top. Then exhale from the crown down on the right side only and notice the energy shift in the right side of your body. Then imagine breathing into the sole of your left foot, drawing that energy, the prana, up through your left side body, your left lung, your left shoulder, your left face. And exhale the air from the left side all the way down. Now breathe in from your tailbone, up the length of your spine to the very crown of your head, and hold. Let that breath hover at the top. Hold until it's slightly uncomfortable to hold. And just notice. And then slowly let the breath out. And hold at the bottom until you have the urge to breathe. And just get curious about that urge for a second before you let the breath in. Then take one more long, full breath in through your nose. Open your mouth and sigh it out. And let this subtle awareness infuse your being. Let it become your teacher. And slowly bring your awareness back to your surroundings. You can wiggle your fingers and your toes. And open your eyes, maybe with a renewed commitment to look for the subtle, to move toward the subtle. Thank you all for joining me this morning. I'm so happy and grateful to be here with you, even with my miserable cold. It's nice to share time with all of you, and I'd love to open it up if anyone has anything they'd like to